Hello everyone, we are starting a new session today in our unit ICT418 contribute to copyright ethics and privacy in an ICT environment. And we mentioned last session ICT stands for information communication and technology. Good. So the topic we are going to discuss today, it's about protect rights of stakeholders. Yesterday or the last time we discussed the meaning of stakeholders is anyone affected positively or negatively by doing or even not doing this service, this initiative, this project, this process. So here we are protecting the rights of stakeholders. Examples for stakeholders could be our IT team themselves, they are stakeholders. HR department, they are stakeholders. Financial team. Sometimes we have external entities like government. We need some permission to do something. We need to discuss with third-party lawyers or other community societies and so on. So here we need to meet the needs and we need to protect rights of stakeholders. So we have different types, as we mentioned. We can have customer. So the customer whose business ensures the company's ongoing success. So we have customers, we have government and its agencies. They will require compliance. Compliance of what? Of our policies, procedures, comply with laws and regulations of the state and the country. So statewide and federal. Sometimes international. If we have ISO standards implemented in some departments, so we need to also have some compliance with international standard organization. For example, we are working in mining, so we need to deal with environment and global warming and all these things. So we have also a social community in which the company operates, the employees, so us, media also plays a role in the company's interaction with the community. I want you to notice that all of these photos, we have reference for them here because we are getting them from some resources here. So it's mentioned shutterstock.com and some copyrights here and there. So we can have multiple types of stakeholders, different examples, different levels, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders. They could be human beings or entity like government or consulting firm. This is an entity. Or human beings like HR, manager, IT administrator, and so on. Objectives of these topics, when we finish this topic, we will be able to identify and document the relevance of legislation and standards to organizational outcomes. Investigate and review organizational privacy policy and procedures. Investigate and review organizational code of ethics. Determine the integrity, confidentiality, security, and availability of information as required by organizational policy. This part is very important to us as security professionals because this one is the one we have in our cybersecurity. So we maintain CIA, confidentiality. Let me highlight one by one. So starting with confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We call that CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. And we at information security, we need to maintain these three items or aspects. So we are maintaining that and any rights of the stakeholder interest. So we can have, as I mentioned, can have project managers, supervisors, users, clients, internal employees, external organizations, colleagues and business representatives, individuals and internal departments, part of the stakeholders and affected by that, affected by our practice. So we need to protect their rights. And we need to link that to outcomes. Let me give you an example here. When I joined TAFE, I signed as part of my contract and the paperwork, I signed information security policy. And I signed also as part of this information security, it was clear that I couldn't use my computer, for example, for personal use or commercial use. I couldn't use TAFE resources to get some personal gain or attack other networks or doing something against the law. I couldn't, for example, smoke within TAFE premises. So I signed that I should adhere to TAFE policies. Even though if these TAFE policies changed from time to time, I must adhere to these policies. For example, last year, one day, my manager came to me and told me, not only me, for everyone else, we need to go home now. So there was a decision came from Department of Education by evacuating TAFE because of COVID-19. So we were asking, okay, we will go home now, then we'll come tomorrow. No, you will come when we tell you. So we went back home. Next day I couldn't go to TAFE. It's closed. I couldn't go inside. Other days, they had only skeleton employees, like few managers there, but no one else. Other days, this policy changed. So we have social distancing, 1.5 meters, and we can go there to TAFE, but we must be wearing masks. So I cannot go into TAFE without a mask. That was for me as an employee and also student. So I must adhere to this policy. I cannot, for example, park in the disabled parking. I cannot use this parking for me, and so on. So there are policies everywhere. We have traffic lights everywhere. We have policies in the shopping center. We have policies even at home. At home, we have some policies. For example, we leave shoes outside, or Sunday lazy breakfast or something. So we have some policies at home, some rules and regulations. So we follow that. Why? Because we need to protect rights. So if I'm trying to protect you, this means also I'm protecting myself. We are protecting everyone in the community by following some policies, laws, regulations, and so on. What if we are not adhering to this policy in the workplace? So there should be some disciplinary actions. Some, I don't want to say punishment, but some consequences for the good things I'm doing or bad things I'm doing. So if for any unethical action, there should be some actions in the policy, some disciplinary actions, some steps to be taken. So it depends, of course, on how bad I am, or what I really did. So smoking is different than stealing, different than swearing at someone, and so on. So different things. So here, the role of us as IT professionals, we will, for example, we will protect the network and not enabling students to install software on TAFE machines. We are not giving local admin rights to employees, so they don't install software on their machines and they use this software for anything, or they even install cracked or pirated applications on their machines. I cannot connect my machine to the staff network. We have guest network. So the IT professionals also, they will enforce some controls. If you remember from our previous discussion, for securing our network, our digital assets, our people, we needed 3 types of controls. Anyone can remind me of these 3 types on the chat? 3 types of controls, security controls. Anyone remembers that? So we have administrative controls like policies, procedures, laws, regulations. We have technical controls. So password, encryption, backup, and so on, monitoring. We have also some physical controls like locks, security gates, security guards, dogs, cameras, and so on. So IT people, they will help to enforce different policies. For example, another example, we will have cameras around maybe cafeteria in TAFE, around the open area, in some classes maybe. So these cameras connected to our network, and it will keep the recording for, I don't know, a few weeks or so. So IT professionals will configure these cameras. So these cameras now become like part of the IT network under the IT management, part of the physical / technical controls. We need to tell everyone there are cameras, of course, in place. It's part of the policy. We need to declare that. We need to announce that and tell everyone we have cameras in place. So the cameras now are part of the policy enforcement. Okay, good. Rights and expectations of stakeholders. You see here in this photo, we are, for example, in TAFE, we are compliant with rules and regulations of Queensland, state of Queensland. So we have some standards there, some regulations, some policies, some rules, some requirements, some laws and regulations. So we request students, teachers, staff members, and so on, to wear, for example, enclosed shoes. It's a must, part of the policy. We cannot smoke within TAFE campus at all. It's part of the policy. I cannot park in designated areas for people with special needs. It's part of the policy. Okay, just a moment. So we have some rules, regulations from the government, and we must follow that. So this is what compliance. We have fire extinguishers and other items for firefighting and dealing with that. So part of the policy is that we are checking these equipments I think every month or every 3 months, something like that. So we are following some policies here. We have fire alarm system and evacuation system. We check that every quarter. I think it's in the policy and so on. So this way we are compliant with rules and regulations of WHS, work health and safety, or OHS, occupational health and safety. So we must, some of us in the other TAFE campus or other departments, they must wear PPE, personal protective equipments. So because they are doing some trade work and carpenters and so on. So according to the policy, according to rules and regulations, they must wear these equipments. So this is well protect everyone. What else in TAFE policy? All your assessments will be kept for 5 years or 7 years. Just I forgot the exact number, but between 5 to 7 years we need to keep your assessment records. This is for audit and compliance purposes. So we keep all your assessments in our systems for quite some time. 10 years ago, it was a bit different than now. So we used to have printed assessments. Still in some qualifications, they use printed assessments. We are lucky in IT studies, we don't print lots of paperwork, which is good from environmental point of view and for storage. So imagine how many file cabinets we need to keep your records for years and years. So what else? For the privacy also, something very important when you enrolled in this training, in this course and that qualification, you provided your physical address. I don't have access to this information. I might have access to your name, email, student number, that's it. I don't have access to your physical address, other details. I don't know about the payment method you used or how much you paid for this course, or are you getting something from the government? You're paying yourself, you're getting discounts. I don't know any of that. I don't have any access to that at all. On the other hand, the admins, they don't have access to your assessments. So no one can change your assessment results unless this person is a teacher and this person also have access to your files. I don't have access to France's files, my colleagues' files, or his students. I don't have access to that. I cannot change any of the results or even see the results or anything at all. And vice versa, of course. So we have levels of privacy, levels of access. Admins, they don't know about details of assessments at all. I'm the only one with this permission. and if we have another teacher helping, and this teacher, they give him this permission, so, or her, so yeah, they can. But also my manager, for example, couldn't reach these details. I don't have access to your copy of ID or ID number you provided. So we separate permissions, and we have, we have authentication and authorization. So we will authenticate, then we will authorize. So we have different levels of confidentiality. In our industry, we have, in the IT industry, we have the Australian Computer Society, and they are the peak industry body in Australia, and they are helping with these policies. So for your activity, you will compare some privacy policies. Then we have organizational code of ethics, and this code of ethics should, in many places, we have it like printed and hang it on walls in different places like restaurants or transportation. So we have example here, the ACS code of ethics. Let me, once you click, it's downloaded. I'll open it. Just a moment. The ACS code of ethics. Here we go. Just a moment. Downloading. Okay. Open, please. Unreliable technology. So this is the Australian Computer Society Code of Ethics. It's just one page. So let's have a read together and see what is there. The ACS Code of Ethics is part of the ACS Constitution. As an ACS member, you must uphold and advance the honor, dignity, and the effectiveness of being a professional. This entails, in addition to being a good citizen and acting within the law, your adherence to the following society values. 1. The primacy of the public interest. You will place the interests of the public above those of personal, business, or sectional interests. Very interesting point and important, of course, to become number one. Number two, the enhancement of quality of life. You will strive to enhance the quality of life of those affected by your work. Number three, honesty. You will be honest in your representation of skills, knowledge, services, and products. Number four, competence. You will work competently and diligently for your stakeholders. Number five, professional development. You will enhance your own professional development and that of your colleagues and staff. Professionalism is number six. You will enhance the integrity of the society and the respect of its members for each other. This code of ethics applies to all ACS members, regardless of their role or specific area of expertise in the ICT industry. So I'm a member with them, and this applies to me. When you work in the IT field, or if you are working there and you are a member, so this code of ethics applied on you. It's really interesting, and it's just one page, part of the Constitution. So we have business ethics, quality, principle, trust, responsibility, value, integrity. Information security, as we were discussing, we maintain different aspects, and we maintain the CIA, the triad. So we are helping the organization, helping the corporate we are working in or enterprise to apply the policy, to of course inform everyone about the policy, sharing the policy maybe on internal network, having some bulletins with the updates, some access rights to policy, and it's available 24/7. At the same time, we are helping in enforcing the policy, monitoring and controlling also. Any questions for me? So the IT team will implement the policy. Good. Is the policy unchangeable? No. From time to time, we are changing the policies. You know what's happened with COVID-19. So we are changing policies from time to time. Sometimes social distance, wearing masks, not wearing masks, no social distance, number of people attending in one area, and so on. So we are changing the policies. Every now and then, usually every year, we update the policies. So we have an example here for a data privacy policy statement. So saying this organization is dedicated to maintaining the integrity, confidentiality, security, and availability of users' information in accordance with Commonwealth and state legislation. So clear, concise statement and telling us what we are doing with this policy and what is there. So we as IT professionals, we will implement some security policy requirements, as I mentioned in my example about encryption, backup, and so on. So data storage systems will be protected, authentication, making sure who you are. We have some security systems, smoke detectors, cameras, different monitoring tools, intrusion detection and prevention systems, user and the group accounts. And I was giving you this example that I cannot access everything about you. You filled while you are my student for the past year or something, but still I couldn't access everything about you that you filled in the form when you enrolled in this qualification. I can access what is needed only. So your name and your email. Okay. So I don't know your physical address. So why that? Because of many reasons. Date of birth, for example, I don't need to know your date of birth if I have access to that. So this is well create what's so called the attacking surface. So it's expanding. The more I know about you, the attacking surface expanding. Not me, I'm talking in general, of course. But the more you know about a person, so the attacking surface is getting bigger and bigger. We know more weak points. Okay, so we need to minimize that as much as we can. This applies also to your behavior and actions online. Yesterday, I was watching something on YouTube. It was really an interesting video. It's like 15 minutes about arresting the guy who created the Silk Road, this website for the deep web website selling drugs with 200 million sales, almost 300 million of sales and drugs across the world. So they arrested him, and even some FBI agents were also helping somehow or trying to steal somehow. It's an interesting one. I can share this with you. It's from one of the news, I think Reuters or BBC or something. I can share it on your Discord. So here's some activities to do after we finish this part. And this is the next topic. So we will discuss that after just a moment after we finish this delivery. So let's have a look on this video.
Hi, this is Sam El-Gawadi. Thank you for joining me in Organizational Copyright Policy Lesson, identifying and investigating legislation, and then implementing and adhering to procedures. When deciding how to protect intellectual property, understand the relevant legislation and standards. Develop policies to enforce legislation and uphold standards. Create procedures that provide practical ways to implement the policies in the workplace. Commonwealth and state intellectual property legislation provides a framework for organizations to build their own policies. A policy is a clear, brief, and concise statement. Policies communicate a simple rule about what we will or will not do. Policies implement the local laws and standards within an organization's operations. Policies need to be communicated to employees and implemented in day-to-day operations. Some companies may have a manual of policies and procedures. However, Smaller companies may simply refer to the existing legislation to make sure that they are compliant. In addition to legislation, we also must be aware of the standards which apply to the IT industry. The best source for information technology industry standards in Australia is the Australian Computer Society, ACS. Legislation and policy at work. After Commonwealth and state governments create laws to define and protect intellectual property rights, organizations create policies based on those laws. Then procedures are put into place to implement the policies within the organization. There are three important aspects to this process: distribution of the policies throughout the company, procedures to implement the policies, procedures to confirm that users understand and apply the policies. Topic summary and review.
Okay. Okay, any questions for me?